Hi everybody, so it's Shaun here again with Anya Ciecierski. So today I wanted to jump on with Anya and just talk about LLMs, how it's affecting SEO. Firstly, how Anya is using it in her business to leverage her time, leverage her resources, see how it's affecting SEO in general, and then see how businesses are pivoting to cater to the new marketing landscape these days. So Anya, great, how are you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing really well. As I was telling you earlier, since the big Dynamics Con show that we had here for Microsoft Dynamics partners back in the spring, we've seen a lot of new business on the ERP Software Blog, and I think part of it is this new AI model, right? So in the beginning when it came out, everybody was saying, oh no, blogging is dead, and I thought, oh gosh, am I going to need to get a new job? But I think actually the opposite is true, is that people are really realizing how important it is to feed those LLMs from reputable sources. And so we have a lot more people coming and joining the ERP Software Blog, CRM Software Blog, I think really for that reason. So it's been good for me.
That's excellent. And yeah, and I want to touch on that a bit more, because being visible on reputable sources is so important for being cited in any LLM these days. So I definitely want to come back to that. But first, I want to pick your brain on how are you using LLMs, AI these days in your business to leverage your time. And I'll give you a bit of interesting use cases from my side too.
One of my business mentor people, he told me you really shouldn't use AI as an assistant. You should use it as a business advisor. And I've really been trying to figure out how I can take that advice to heart, although I do still use it as an assistant, sort this list, clean up this transcription, things like that. But I'm really trying to ask it tougher, harder questions that I maybe in the past would have thought, I need a business coach for this, or I need to hire a marketing expert for this question. For example, right now we're working on a new pricing package, a new pricing option for our membership. And AI has just been so helpful in trying to think through what should that pricing be? What is the margins? How should we describe it? What's the best way to lay out the different options and things? So I'm really enjoying using it that way. And of course for writing. So that's my whole world is blog writing. And I have the best success using transcriptions from calls that I have with clients, that these subject matter experts can just talk about what they know so well. But I could never get them to put it down into a blog post. But when I interview them and kind of pull that information out and then feed that to, I use either ChatGPT or Claude, and I go back and forth. I can really have that polish it up into a nice blog post that then I can kind of work with myself. I say that I use two because I don't know if you found this, Shaun, but I think they're moody. Mm-hmm. Like sometimes ChatGPT works really, really well. And then the next time I use it for the same type of project, same prompts, the result's terrible. So then I go to Claude, give it the same prompt. Oh, no, that's beautiful. But I have to subscribe to both because they're at different days, they somehow, behave differently.
You never would have thought 5 years ago we'd be talking about AI like it's different personalities and then being quirky when we're working with them. Very interesting. I'm also subscribed to multiple LLMs, including Claude and ChatGPT. The new GPT-5 release has been widely criticized for being colder, less emotional, and people aren't enjoying that actually, which is quite interesting. We've got a few clients in the e-commerce space. I'll give you the way that we're using it. Maybe it can be translated well for sort of B2B. When there's like a product image that needs to be created, we can very easily take the person's product image and put it into any specific scenario, which is very, very cool to do because you can be very creative with the way that you're using imagery on your social media, and you're not restricted by, I need to schedule photo shoots, or I need to get a model, or I need to, there's a whole bunch of variables that you've got so much more control over now because of this AI that we've got access to. So just one cool, interesting way to use it. Another way that we found specifically in the tech space, ERP specifically, is being able to create Apps, mini apps. So think an implementation estimation calculator that you can embed on your website page. It makes finding out how much an implementation is going to cost you so much quicker and easier for people. It's like a nice, cool little lead magnet. You can do similar things for now talking behind the curtain. You could also go with things like if you've got BDRs or sales people preparing for a meeting, you can have an entire agent prepare a brief for that person, so they know exactly who they're talking to. They know all about the company. They know if the company's been funded. They've got talking topics to keep the conversation flowing. They know exactly what the pain points are. So they've got an entire sales brief that they can walk into a meeting with. So it's completely changed the way that business is being done these days. It's completely blowing my mind, and I'm enjoying it every single day as a new learning experience for me.
Those are some good ideas. You're definitely on the professional level when it comes to using it creatively. I like that. We have thought that we have 16 years worth of data on the ERP Software Blog, CRM Software Blog, and we could use AI to make our own checklists, guides, comparisons, things like that, really pulling the information that all these ERP and CRM partners have written over the years. So that's a goal. But yeah, your ideas are very interesting sounding. I like it.
We have to experiment, right? Trying to make the most of the tools that we've got. CEO of OpenAI, he said we're not far away from the first 10-person billion-dollar company, and then he said the first 1-person billion-dollar company, and that's going to change everything. Being able to run entire businesses with AI agents. I think that's exciting for any founder, any new founder, any startup that's starting out these days. There's just so much. If you can't make a business work these days, you've got everything in your favor to make it work, honestly.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Although I do worry a little bit about some of the people on my sites that I see are writing with LLMs in mind, writing with AI in mind, and they do come up very, very high in the search ranking. So people are finding them, but then I sometimes question, are they interesting enough that a human being is going to say, yeah, I would like to work with you. So it's hard because there's such a balance between writing for search engines and AI and writing for real humans. And sometimes the more fun storytelling articles, that's not the ones that AI is looking for, but that is actually the one that's going to inspire that CFO to say, oh, you know what, this company sounds like somebody that I'd really like to work with, or that has the same company style as I do. So I do think my business partner and I go back and forth about that all the time, because I want the more interesting content and he wants the more optimized content. So.
Yeah, trying to find that balance is difficult. It really is difficult. That's where just something that we're finding is having the top of funnel content, the content that people are finding via search, via citations, having that be more optimized for search, but then giving the deeper resources, lead magnets, downloadable PDFs, things like that gives you the depth, that gives you opportunity to get the email addresses, get into people's email inboxes, so you don't have to worry about optimizing for search. There's always going to be that top level where you need to optimize for search. It's always going to be that way, and it's good that it is that way, because it means that we can leverage that. You know how expensive visibility was 30 years ago, and now we can get it pretty much for free. All we need to do is just make sure the content is written in the correct format, make sure all the correct things are in place. You mentioned a LinkedIn post I posted with 10 things you could do to get your content ranking in AI. This is sort of the things that we were talking about now. A lot of it feels like old school SEO, where you're trying to game the system, and in a sense it is very much that. But it is the fact that AI is a lot smarter than SEO was 10, 20 years ago. So you do still need to have the human element, the credibility, the authority, the presence around the internet to prove that, look, I am a trustworthy source. It's interesting times.
Yeah, but like you said, it is a little bit more of a recipe than we had. Maybe in the beginning we had more of a recipe, and then it was kind of very gray and ambiguous and try your best for SEO. And now I feel like there's the more very specific, yes, this is what the LLMs like. You can accomplish this. But like you said, the things about the trust and authenticity and authority, those are things that can't be manufactured quickly or non-authentically.
Exactly.
So that takes a little bit more effort than just a factory produced kind of thing.
That is your competitive advantage. If you're willing to put the extra effort in and make your content something that's more people can sink their teeth into, it's not just shallow optimized. Yeah, that's the direction you want to go in for sure. Because that's something that's going to last a long time. It's going to last every time the AI makes an update, or every time the companies make an update to the LLMs, you are going to be more resistant to those updates. Same thing that happened with Google's algorithm. It got smarter and smarter and smarter, and it got better at understanding who's trying to game the system and who's actually trying to create quality content. And every guideline that's out there, in addition to these interesting little tweaks that you can make to get your content ranking, but all the best information out there says create human-oriented content, because that's what AI wants to give to its people. Just make it more make it more explanatory, make it more so that the AI can use the content. That's the biggest thing. Make sure you can connect case studies and things to it. But the biggest thing is right for humans, and AI is going to make sense of it, and that content's going to be around for a long time.
I made a note of one of your tips in that, 10 SEO tips for AI visibility, which was that each answer should stand alone. And I thought, okay, that's something I haven't told my blog members yet. And I like that, because you do want the LLMs to be able to just pull out this one section without a lot of context around it. And sometimes people get caught up in I have to use all these fun metaphors and make it very interesting. But that can, again, detract from the AI pulling it if it's not complete. So I liked that. I made a note that I need to put that on our kind of best practices for writing.
I'm glad that helped. It's very similar to what we used to do for AI, or not AI, Google citations back in the day when you had the answer that was being summarized before AI took over. Similar thing, right? You want to reduce back in the day it was processing time, how much time Google has to put into putting an answer together for the person. Same thing with AI, right? They're trying to reduce the resources they're putting into presenting answers to people. And if you can give them a ready-made answer that they can just fact check and present to someone, that takes far less resources. So that's what you want to try and do for them, because they're always calculating how many dollars are they spending every day on providing answers. So make it easy for them.
Yeah, and maybe I don't know, maybe it's better for the environment, right? That's a whole nother discussion. We don't know.
The way that these server farms are going up and having to create individual power plants for server farms it's something else. It's going to be interesting. That's a whole nother subject. Mm-hmm. But another thing, so I want to ask you, obviously LLMs, citations, LLMs have taken over search traffic in most cases. I mean, the general statistics is search traffic is down 70% in general. That's Google search. Now, that doesn't take into account traffic that's moved over to LLMs and the citations that are happening there. By the way, if you don't know, you can track these things in Google Analytics. Just look for where your sources are coming from. ChatGPT, for example, would be one of the sources, and you can sort of see how you're increasing in traffic if you aren't trying to optimize for that. Obviously, using some of the points that I've got in my profile on the post that Anya's mentioned. But yeah, search traffic from Google is down. Are you experiencing the same thing? What are clients telling you in terms of, because you said yourself, there's an influx of new members to the ERP Software Blog, which is great, and they're seeing the value of being visible on that platform to their own brand. So tell us what you're seeing at the moment.
We used to always talk about traffic stats for our blogs, and then there was that crash, and we thought, oh gosh, we have to pull back on all of these. But then realizing that it's not just us, it's everybody across the board is seeing these kind of nosedives with traffic. It can seem scary, I think, but then just realizing that it's just everything shifting and changing, and that isn't necessarily the best or only metric anymore. And so looking at things like domain authority and history and things like that, we're trying to stress more. But I definitely see all of the marketers that I work with saying the same thing. Search traffic is down. You can't use the same metrics, the same analytics that you used to use in the past. You have to be showing your boss something else about the success of your programs and what's working, besides just that search and organic traffic. And I do think that more people, I hope that's why they're joining. I think that's why they're joining is because they keep hearing the value of you need to have your content out on multiple places, high authority places. That's how you're signaling to these robots that you're a real person. And that's becoming more important than ever for people to know, or for you to be able to prove that you're a real person that not only humans can trust, but that robots can trust as well, because it's really getting to the point where you can't trust anything. I was shocked at how easy it is to create a podcast with AI, and then it makes me question every podcast I listen to, thinking, are these actually real people? Or is it a robot who's talking to me? I don't know.
You mentioning that, I actually played around with I think it was VO3, Google's video generating tool, and I literally created a fake podcast promoting one of my courses that I do, B2C type things. But it was literally two podcasters talking about my brand. It was amazing, and the fact that you could set this up with a single prompt it's pretty scary.
Yeah, we're living in a very unusual time.
Exactly, like you say there, it's proving that you're real. The only way that you're going to do that these days is by getting other real people to tell the LLMs that this person is real. And that looks like you're featuring your content on their sites, they're trusting you, and they're linking back to you. That's what you want. And like I say, you're in the perfect position for this, because your blogs have grown authority in the space to the point like in any other space, entertainment, Forbes, or in business, Forbes would be one of those magazines that you would want to be featured in, because that's the brand that's known. Your blogs are that for the ERP space, and that's why people are coming to you, whether they know it or not. It's a good move, because you want to be visible in the most authoritative places, for sure. And just to put everyone's mind at ease, to the stats changing, obviously losing the search traffic, that 70% that I mentioned, and that traffic moving over into LLMs and those being citations. The click-throughs that you're going to get through to your website are going to be less, but they're higher quality. The people that are clicking through want to read what you've got to say, and then they want to see who the authority is behind what they've just read, and they're going to dig deep, and they're going to go to your website and look at who the author is. For example, ERP Software Blog, and look who the author is of that particular resource. That's how it works. So it's less traffic, a bit higher quality, and more likely to convert. This is less true in the B2C space, but B2B, when people are searching these, any type of search, any such type of search topic around ERP, around software technology, they normally have higher buying intent, because they don't have time to waste. So normally they're going to look for, okay, what's the best answer? Who provided the best answer? I'm going to go look at that resource, make a decision based on that particular person's brand and what is their messaging to me. So yeah, definitely, this is the future of search in general. It's always going to be SEO. You always want to optimize for search. It's just changed from Google search to LLMs, and that's just how it's going to be.
Yeah, and to your point, you can have an amazing article that gets found, lots of traffic, but then if they get back to your website and it's kind of a wah-wah experience, there's no offers, there's nothing, maybe no pricing tools, very little about you, it kind of looks like it was updated in 1995, that's all gonna then kind of suck away that trust that you've tried hard to build by getting them to your website in the first place. So it's obviously, marketing is a huge job. That's why people, work with companies like yours, Shaun, to help them to really look at the entire picture and say, okay, we have a great article, we have a great, AI strategy, but then what happens next? How do we actually convert them to the next stage? How do we nurture them? How do we stay top of mind? Even if they're not ready to buy now, how do we make sure that we're still there and they think of us first when they're ready to buy?
100%. That is so true, and it's even more true now, being that not all of your success or marketing leverage should depend on one particular source or one particular avenue, one particular leverage point. Like, for example, ERP Software Blog. It should be a part of an all-encompassing marketing strategy. That's what you want. AI is looking at your website. It's looking at ERP Software Blog. It's looking at LinkedIn. It's looking at where else have you been featured. That's what it's looking for. Podcasts, like what you and I are doing right now. Get onto podcasts in your niche. That's how you get your your name out there. That's how you get visible in the LLMs. You need a complete marketing strategy, and that's where you and I come in. We can add this value by giving certain parts of this puzzle to people, but they need to understand that there is a puzzle to be built, and it requires multiple moving parts. So what are you seeing into search traffic's down, but it is moved to LLMs. It's higher quality customers coming through. How else are you seeing businesses pivoting right now with LLMs and it impacting search?
I think it's easier to come up with content now, and that is a blessing and a curse, because somebody can just write a prompt, write me a blog post about why Microsoft Dynamics 365 is better than NetSuite, right? But it could end up being complete garbage, but if it's tempting because it's easy and it's quick and it's done. And maybe it does have some good content in there. But I think it's easier for people to create content, but that can also make them just kind of fall back on that and not add their unique experience, their unique voice, the little, case study examples and things that show, hey, we've really done this before. The things that don't just automatically come up from the LLMs. So I would say, definitely on the ERP Software Blog, we do see some content that I just look at it and shake my head and think, like, I know a robot wrote this, and it doesn't sound good, and that's too bad. You still have to put the work into it. It's just that the tools make it easier.
Yeah, you would as a media house. You're privy to all of the dirty content tricks that people are using at the moment. It's unfortunate, but you know what? It's just up to them. Do they want to have longevity in their content or don't they? Content like that won't last long. Content that's deeper will, and will just outperform anything else that's trying to compete for that same sort of search term. So, high quality content, people. Yeah.
We also see a real increase in top 10 lists, the top 10 best partners, the top 10 best AP automation. And it makes me feel sometimes a little bit bad for the reader who's looking at that, because it's so easy to game that list. And I look at it and think, well, obviously the person who wrote it is number one, and then they've picked all these people underneath them that I've maybe never even heard of. Or I have, but I don't. There's no clear criteria. Who is the person that said these are top 10, right? But that's the search term that the buyer's putting in, and they're like, oh, look, there's 10 great partners. Maybe not. So that's something that I see really, really increasing in popularity right now. It's like everybody wants to have their top 10 best list right now.
It literally is like a Google of 2010 reincarnated. Everyone had the same strategy, lists, optimizing for citations and snippets. It's really, really interesting to see. But I think I've taken enough of your time, Anya. Thanks so much. It's always good to catch up with you because you're knee deep in the content space, and especially when it comes to tech companies and allowing them to leverage content the right way and seeing what's actually happening within those businesses. You're always a good person to speak with, so I really appreciate you coming on again, and I hope we can do it soon again.
Great. Thanks so much for the invitation.